There we go. So, what are you drinking?
Green tea with lemon.
Oh, I'm drinking a African herbal tea that is high in calcium to help with my healing process. It's really good.
Fuck yeah. What, do you know what kind of tea it is?
I forget the name. My mom got it for me. She got it from one of those African head shops around the corner.
Cool.
Like, yeah. Half of them don't even have names.
I had like a brief period in my life, like late high school, where I got like really into tea. Like that became my identity for a hot second. Of just like
is that that or coffee?
Well, yeah, it's way better than coffee. You can find teas that are just as high caffeine. Just saying.
Yeah. But hey, welcome to the Tea Cast, where we talk all tea all the time.
You downloaded the wrong fucking show.
Yeah, we pulled the rug up under you. We're completely just changing everything. But no, this is another Zoomer cast. Battle's doing maternity photos, but he is going to send his bid in because this is going to become this is like an impromptu recording. Because we had one scheduled and queued up, but I want to make this the next one out because I feel like we should address and have some conversations around what just happened and what has been happening in America for a grip now. Because like, I'm glad it's getting its attention now, but it's not like it's a new thing.
Yeah, 100%.
It's been happening for a while. And what we're talking about is racism towards Asian people in America. And not America too. Like, basically around the world. And
what show is it?
Oh, it's Brothers of Murder.
Yeah.
And we give you true crime cases of color, music, and have these constructive conversations because the true crime community is, there's a force behind it. I feel like, and if we can just navigate that to make some change, some shit can happen. Yeah. There's a lot of good people in the community, especially our listeners. Our listeners are fucking dope.
Well, and we actually kind of teed this up, like, slowly talking about this more and more, weirdly, over a few episodes now. Where, like, First we were talking about, like, the historical context of, like, Asian Americans being a part of the group of people that helped create America. As well as last week we were talking about, like, the injustice that, like, brown and black people experience is not the same as Asian Americans. And that, like, I made the comment that as far as, like, social justice goes, my priorities tend to be with, black and brown communities. But that's not to say that we don't, love and care for and want to fight for the justice of our, Asian communities.
Yeah, and especially since our show and two of my best friends are Asian Americans, yeah. I feel like we should just take that step and actually talking about it. So the way the format's going to go is right after this, well, not after this, but we're going to put in Battle's clip. He's going to give some great context about the history of racism and towards people in America, like the fucked up fetishization and everything like that. And then we'll come back, and then Robert's going to take the wheel.
The end of the world at the palm of my
Hey, what's up everyone? It's me, Battle. So, of course, we are going to hit you with another doozy, and that's because sometimes people are such fucking assholes. In case you weren't aware, recently there was a mass murder in the Asian community. While this doesn't affect everyone, it should affect everyone in some capacity. because I'm certain that everyone has friends that are part of the Asian community. And if you don't think that you have friends in the Asian community, you should think again, because Robert and I are both half Asian. Robert is half Japanese, and I'm half Filipino. So, you know at least two people, and you care about us, right? So before we actually get into our episode today, I want to talk about a few things that people don't usually talk about, or think about, or maybe even know about. But racism against Asian people in the United States has been going on for a very long time. For instance, internment camps for the Japanese in World War II. These camps were actually instilled by President Franklin Roosevelt in the Executive Order 9066. And during this time, from 1942 to 1945, according to History.com, it was a policy of the US government that the people of Japanese descent would be entered in isolated camps. And I get it, I understand that during this time, this was when the whole Pearl Harbor was going on. But not all Japanese people were the ones that did this. It's almost equitable to 9/11 and how we treated Middle Eastern people. Actually, how we still treat Middle Eastern people. People who are Japanese actually was considered one of the most atrocious violations of American civil rights in the 20th century. Because they are pretty much concentration camps. But not only this, we could go back further to the late 1800s where the Chinese Exclusion Act was set in place. And pretty much what that act was to keep Chinese immigrants from coming into the United States. They actually created this act because they believed that Chinese immigrants were coming into the United States and were taking jobs and wages from Americans, white Americans. And again, this is equitable to how we treat people coming from South America, Mexico, migrating into the United States looking for work. But it doesn't stop there, everyone. Because also, there was the Chinese Massacre of 1871, where 17 Chinese men and boys were lynched because a white man was murdered. Or the Rock Spring Massacre of 1885, where 25 people were killed. Or the San Francisco Plague of 1900, where an Australian ship brought a plague, but because the first patient was a Chinese person, a person who is Chinese, it was the whole Chinese community's fault. The list goes on and on. But those are just some examples of how the government was very racist against Asian people. Now we could think about the societal racism. So for me, I grew up in a blended household of my dad being black and my mom being Filipino, and I witnessed a lot of racism against both my parents. Something that was always apparent with people is that a lot of times there are a lot of different stereotypes against Asian people. Pretty much belittling them and treating them as if they're completely different. I get it, not everyone is the same in regards to skin tone, sexuality, and religion. I could keep going on with that list, of course, but at the end of the day, we are all people that have the same basic compounds that make up the human body. We're all the same. It's like the cliche saying, it's skin deep, right? Like, we're the same at the core of everything, at the basic building blocks of life. What I noticed growing up was that people who are Asian have always been depicted as looking the same, or having yellow skin, or they have been extremely romanticized or fetishized. And this is not good. You know, people say that all Asian men are short with small penises. All Asian women are small, petite, small feet, obedient, they're preyed upon. Asian women have been considered to be meek, which goes along with what we are covering today. But just this year alone, there were close to just last year alone, there were close to 4,000 anti-Asian racist incidences that were reported last year. Most of them were reported by women. And according to the NBC News, nearly 68% of those incidences were reported by women. It has been said that because people who are Asian are stereotyped to be meek and subservient, they are easier to target, especially women who are Asian. And that's really shitty. People should just be able to live and be without the fear of being attacked or being yelled at. My mother, who is an immigrant from the Philippines, has experienced racism her whole life once she came to the United States. Just this last year, my mother was subjected to racial slurs and verbal harassment because she's Asian and all Asian people look alike. But, and I'm saying that with jest, I'm trying to elaborate on stereotypes of people who are Asian. But because she is Asian, or Pacific Islander, if you want to say that, but because she is Asian, because this is, and I quote, the Chinese flu, she has been subjected to verbal harassment for things like just going to the grocery store. And again, while this may not affect you directly, it definitely affects others. So before we get into this next episode, please treat people with dignity and respect. This isn't just about a hashtag that you can put on your social media, and as soon as everything goes away, or we think it goes away, we stop posting about it, or we stop talking about it. This is something more. This is something bigger. We need to be more diligent. We need to make sure that while we don't have to post about everything that we're doing, our actions reflect what our previous posts mean and stand for. So do the right thing all the time, and don't be a zebra amongst lions. Don't blend in if you see something wrong. You don't have to record every fucking thing that happens. But if you are in a position that you can be safe, intervene if you deem it safe. Because I guarantee you someone is going to be recording. Just make sure you're fighting for those who are the minority, because as the majority, it is easier to have a bigger voice when people look like you. I truly appreciate the diverse listeners that we have and the work that we all do. We need to make sure that we are all doing our part in treating all with dignity and respect. And I hope you all enjoy today's episode.
And we're back. So, go ahead, Robert.
That was really good. I wish we would have heard that so we could talk about what he said. But, recording order, whatever. It happens. So I assume everyone who is a fan of this kind of podcast is already aware of the news. It's been everywhere. I've had people reach out to me that care no bit about true crime and have heard about this case. It was a string of shootings that targeted Asian women, specifically, at massage parlors in Atlanta. So the shooter, Robert Aaron Long, is obviously just another, white Christian terrorist.
I'm glad you said terrorist, because for some reason America has a real issue calling white people terrorists when most of our domestic terrorist acts have been by white people. But
Domestic terrorism is the biggest threat.
But they'll just label him as misunderstood, or he was having a bad day, or mental health. But they will not afford that to anybody else. You get called a thug in a heartbeat.
Well, you can make that comment that he was just having a bad day, and that actually came from one of the officers that was investigating the case, and they still have not recognized that this was a hate crime. They don't believe that there was a quote-unquote racial element, which is absurd. He went to Asian massage parlors. He quoted himself as being a sex addict, and that's why he chose those locations, which I'm sure Battle already talked about. It is the fetishization of Asian women. As far as vulnerable groups go, Asian women have been horribly abused over the years. And they
trafficked and like throughout the ass too, like
absolutely, like human trafficking. I mean, you know, the fact that this man was going to Asian massage parlors is, you know, stems from a racist fetishization, most likely. You know, obviously, I haven't seen his browser history, but I'm going to assume it coincides with his shooting victims. So this actually all happened very quickly. It seems it started about 4:50 at Young's Asian Massage, where 5 people were shot, and then like an hour later, there was another shooting of 3 people at Gold Massage and Spa. And then across the street from them, he hit another place called Gold's, or Aromatherapy Spa. And that was the final woman was killed there. So, you know, we have that kind of like 4:50 to about 5:47. So, you know, 4:50 to 6, we'll say. And then, because, you know, everywhere has cameras now, which is, you know, fantastic when it comes to like
those grainy, shitty CCT videos.
Yeah.
Even a fucking Mars rover has like 4K.
Robert Aaron Long has probably the worst facial hair I've ever seen, and you can pick that shit out of a camera easy.
Oh, 100% a neck beard.
Yeah, at some point you got to get your dad's reaction to his beard, because your dad is like a beard aficionado. So we need.
I'm gonna do that actually.
Yeah, we need to get him to read this man's beard. It's so bad.
But I'm also afraid to show the internet my dad because they be thirsting for him, especially on Facebook.
Yeah. People will come for your dad. They thirst hard for him, dude. So anyway, at 6 to 8, the police begin circulating the CCCCC TV camera footage of Long, and his family immediately contacted the police and gave them his phone number. Using his phone number, they were able to track him, like live.
Which is honestly commendable too, because I feel like that's a hard thing to do.
Yeah.
And to not only like do it, but admit to yourself that your kid did this fucked up crime. So I do want to like give props to the parents for doing the right thing.
Yes. Well, and you know, if any of my family, any of my friends ever like commit murder, I'm gonna turn you in. Like this isn't a snitching scenario. Yeah, you gotta go. You know, we can't have that. Well, and apparently Long was kicked out of his family home because of his sex addiction. However, that was manifesting itself with his family. You know, we don't really have those details yet. It's still very early, obviously. But so by 8 p.m., they were live tracking him using his cell phone, and they used a pit maneuver to run him off the road, which is when a cop car pulls up behind you and like hits the tail end of your car to make you spin out.
Yeah.
And he was taken safely. He had a gun in the car, but they took him safely. And all said and done, there was...
And being taken in safely in and of itself, another bit of privilege.
Yep. There were 9 victims. 1 survived with just critical injuries, and then the other 8, 6 of whom were Asian. And I've heard a few people, or I haven't heard, I've seen some discourse online of people who are, for whatever reason, trying to defend this as not a hate crime specifically. I don't know why that got picked up as a talking point on like Fox News and stuff. Or people are trying to make this not about race. Yeah, like brainworms. You have brainworms.
To give it context, Fox News has also spent the last day talking about Joe Biden tripping on some stairs. So
yeah.
But when it comes to it being a hate crime, this kind of action does nothing but put fear and instill fear in the Asian community at large, especially since violence has been on a rise. So this is just like adding on top of it, making it more terrifying. Like, there have been stories about elderly women getting attacked on the street just because they're Asian.
Yes. Well,
so this is a hate crime
and
because
like
it's perpetuating
people,
that fear.
Like people have been rolling up to elderly people and just jumping them for being Asian. There's a rap duo called Year of the Ox, and they put out a song in 2020 called Viral. That's fantastic, and it talks about the the violence that the Asian community was facing because of COVID specifically, and that's free on YouTube. Everybody go check out Year of the Ox. They go very hard. So the victims, we had Delania Ashley Young, Paul Andre Michaels. So he's actually the only man involved in the scenario, and how he got involved was he was with his wife or girlfriend, I believe, next door to one of the shootings. He heard the shootings and went over. So he was not a target of one of the shootings. So don't let this random, person who was just trying to help
one person
get pulled in and distract you from, this wasn't about Asian women. There was a white man who was also shot. Don't try to Ben Shapiro it. He was not a target originally. He did not work at one of these massage parlors. He was, But, again, that's an incredibly commendable thing, is he was trying to help people. He heard gunshots and still was like, what can I do to help? That's fantastic. We also had Zhao Jiantan, Dao Youfeng, Alicia Hernandez-Ortiz, Suncha Park, Hyunjung Grant, Suncha Kim, and Young Ye. And they're all dead now, and their families are missing them. And people ignoring the fact that the vast majority of these people are Asian is just, so disrespectful to, the context of the situation. People have been talking about...
What's your point with that argument?
It's racial gaslighting. It's the same people who don't want to let Asian people identify as Asian, be like, no, son, you're an American now. You're just like the white man. It's gross. And call out people who are doing that, because there is a racial element. This was a racist crime. This was a hate crime.
And I do want to, because I've been seeing this kind of discourse too on Facebook and Twitter, and whenever I see it pop up, I'm glad to see how many people push back against it in the Black community, because there have been people who are upset when someone's saying Asian lives matters, and they'll comment back, well, Black lives can't matter Asian lives can't matter until Black lives matter, and it's we said that kind of sentiment on the show before too, but at the same time, it's Asian lives don't matter, and I love to see that. I'm love seeing the pushback in the Black community towards that, saying that there's parallels here.
Yeah, well,
and we can be allies over those parallels, especially in a situation like this, when it's they need the support that we've been asking for.
I actually just saw an awesome post. I posted it to my story, I think, yesterday, that was talking about the hashtag Stop Asian Hate hashtag. And that's the hashtag we should be using, and avoid things like Asian Lives Matter, because, it kind of pulls energy and focus away from BLM. Because if BLM wants to come forward, as an organization, and be this is a hashtag, hell yeah, Asian Lives Matter, whatever, let them do that, but kind of co-opting that language, probably not the time. But luckily, Stop Asian Hate has been the hashtag that I've seen most often. Do you know who 88 Rising is?
No.
It's an Asian. They do a lot, but they're a music label for the most part. They do other artistic stuff, but they posted this lime green yellow square on Instagram, they were trying to do you remember the black squares that people posted on Instagram during the BLM protest? They tried to do it with this yellow square, and it was immediately just not the move, and it was so bad. It's
because the whole yellow thing kind of has some racial connotation.
If you're a group of Asian people, I don't think you were doing it because you're racist, but
someone else who's not Asian,
let's not do
that
this.
Out, it looks bad.
yeah. So I am, we kind of made the comment of he was taken safely and that's a privilege, blah 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 blah. I'm glad he was taken safely. I don't think people should be murdered before they've been taken in and
face justice.
Yeah, I don't think the police have the right to murder anybody. Yeah, because we are going to get to learn more. And this guy, Robert Aaron Long, man, that beard is killing me. We'll get to learn more about, his reported sex addiction and how he came to choose these targets. I also saw another post that was talking about, we don't know that the people who worked at these different locations were sex workers, but if they were, that doesn't discredit them, that doesn't draw away from the fact that they were still murdered, because despite what, you know, high society or whoever wants to say in the United States, we have an active sex worker economy. You know, there are
sex workers will work.
millions of people who either engage in sex work or purchase it, you know?
Yeah, purchase it.
Yeah.
It's the oldest trade in the goddamn book. It was in the Bible.
Yeah, and if you're not, like, I'm just so terrified that, you know, Long is going to testify and be like, yeah, I've been to those Asian parlors before, and, you know, they were, like, you know, sex worker fronts. Like, okay, that doesn't give you the right to murder them, clearly. You were engaging in
people,
it.
They still have the autonomy, yeah.
Because that was one of the things he said. He was doing it because of, like, some moral... he was compelled morally to do it. Because he had been there before and he was ashamed or something. It's so dehumanizing to say, you know, I have this moral failing, so I'm going to kill someone else to deal with it, instead of
like
go to therapy.
List. Yeah.
It's so gross.
And it also kind of just boils down to viewing women as just an object, too, because instead of just confronting your own issues around your addiction to going to, you know, sex workshops and paying sex workers to dealing with yourself, you just view them as an object to get rid of so you can stop, like, spending your money on them, which is fucked up.
Yeah.
And if you follow us on... No, go ahead.
No, go. All you. I feel like I've been ranting and talking.
Well, so if you follow us on our Instagram and social media, I put out a post saying, hey, you know, we want to donate to a women's organization this month, because it's Women's Month. And I found one. It's the AAPI Women's Led. It supports Asian women and girls in workshops and research to promote movements such as I'm Ready, which addresses issues like gender-based and racial discrimination and sexual harassment in the community. And that's what we're going to be donating to this month with our AdSense. And I'll also list, like, I found a couple other organizations that I like to help women in the Asian community, and I'll be putting those in the show notes too.
Yeah.
So I know that STEMI hit. Before you go out and buy a new Birkin bag, you donate.
Okay, let's be real. You can't afford a Birkin bag with $1,400.
Hey, we can dream, can't we? Get that head, get that bread, then leave. But do you have anything else?
No. I mean, follow me on social media. Follow Andre. Follow Battle. Follow Kelly. We're all around. We post this kind of stuff to our stories, and we, like, talk about it with people. The Bro Is a Murder Instagram, you know, we talk about this kind of stuff. And if it's stuff you're interested and want to stay up to date on, you know, I'll try my best.
Yeah, we'll get it out there. And today's song, I'm already had an idea what I'm gonna have it. It's gonna be by Sarah Kang, a great Asian artist who makes great music. So enjoy it. She's like real jazzy with it, and I love that.
Oh, also check out Viral by Year of the Ox. Please, everybody, go watch that video. We can't probably play it because, you know, they're musicians and got to get paid too. So just go stream it. Give them money that way.
Yeah, I'll link it. I'll link their Instagram or something in the show notes too.
Word.
Yeah, if you check them out, tell them that Bros Murder sent you. It's really confusing. But thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And I like your mug, by the way. I didn't tell you that.
Yeah, it's Kaya and I.
Oh, it's so cute.
Yeah.
But yeah, so thanks for being here. Check the show notes for all those details. Peace out.
Peace.
Kisses from the homies. Mwah, mwah.
You won't ever find me at a club, 'cause if I ever tried to cut a rug, by the time the night is done, you would know that I'm a strange one. I don't ever know what to do, how to find a beat, how to groove, but I dream about finding you. You make me wanna sway, and you'd say, dance with me, 나랑 춤출래. I don't care about where or when, pick a song that never ends. Dance with me, 나랑 춤출래. Close your eyes, just move your it's like to feel like you have all eyes on every little move you make. You can't seem to find your way. Maybe all this time I've lied. Maybe I just never tried. Cause boy, when I'm alone with you, you make me wanna sway, wanna move. Dance with me, 나랑 춤출래. I don't care about where or when. Pick a song that never ends. Dance with me, 나랑 춤출래. Close your eyes, just move your body. 나랑 춤출래. I don't care about where or when. Pick a song that never ends. Dance with me. 나랑 춤출래. Close your eyes, just move your body.
Now more than ever, it's important for you and your family to enjoy the spaces you're in most often. Visit FergusonShowrooms.com to shop online or schedule a personalized consultation to meet with our experts at your local Ferguson Bath, Kitchen, and Lighting Gallery. Together we'll help you make the most of home and create a space you'll love to live in. Get started on your project and discover extraordinary products like the Quartz Luxe Undermount Kitchen Sink from LK.